Shalom. Kal halayim le'yahu b'Hashem Yahushai, b'Hashem Recha HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles of GMS, that rule well, who I learned this truth from, and salutations and blessings right unto you elect out there, brothers and few sisters. I'm gonna, as you see on the screen, I'm gonna play a video after this, but this is dealing with the CIA, right? The Central Intelligence Agency, which is just one of many agencies that exists, right? But this is dealing with a few things, right? Them coming back as the Romans, or this being New Rome, you know, um, them dealing with the same gods, and them being in the power seat or being the sword, right? So it says the symbol on the CIA shield is known as the Virginia Sun. The CIA headquarters is located in Langley, Virginia. Langley is defined as a unit of solar radiation, right? And you can look that up, right? It says the Virginia Sun is a 16-pointed star that symbolizes the Virgin Greek goddess of war, Athena, as well as the Greek god Apollo, right? Which Apollo, who was released from the abyss during the tribulation. And yet the CIA is rumored to have an underground base near CERN, who plans to open the abyss. Now CERN is another topic, you can look that up, but CERN is actually a program. They announced it, I think, last year in major news outlets, but they were running it for years. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I can only explain it as them trying to play around or tap into the spiritual realm, like a portal of sorts. And CERN, by the way, it's their program name, right? I forget if it's an acronym or if it's just the name, but CERN actually goes back to the god Cernunnos, which is another god that they worship, right? But another key point to bring out is it's a Greek god, Athena or Apollo, right? Because the Romans, they just converted that. The Romans took those gods and they converted them. All those gods that the Greeks worshipped, the Romans took them on. And the Greeks, they took on who? They took on gods from other nations, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, right? The Egyptians. And they just switched them over as well. So it says, the Virginia Sun was used on the shields of the Macedonian military and is on the tomb of Alexander the Great's father, Philip II, Alexander the Great. Thus the CIA, as a military organization, is invoking the same fallen angels the Greeks invoked to conquer the world. To date, the CIA has overthrown 50 plus governments for the New World Order. Now again, you have to pick apart the bones from the meat, right? The fallen angels, there's no such thing as fallen angels in the abyss and they're waiting to get released out of hell or out of a prison. Like when you read the book of Jude, and it talks about the angels, right, in chains of darkness. We are the fallen angels, the Israelites, starting with the elect, really the elect. The Nephilim, the Nepalium, right? But it's dealing with Israelites, right? But it's interesting to know the CIA is that spearman, that spearhead, that real deadly cutthroat, like the Jesuits of sorts, right? But in America, you have the FBI, which is national, but CIA, they really have a license to kill. I'll say that, right? They really have a license to kill, and they have they have a borderless jurisdiction. There's nowhere where pretty much they haven't worked. As it says, they've overthrown 50. Now, that means there's other places where they've tried to do things, but they couldn't as well. Take that into account, right? So I'm going to play this video, right? So this is John F. Kennedy's nephew, right? So let me play it.
My uncle, John Kennedy, he realized early on that the purpose of the CIA and the intelligence apparatus was to create a constant pipeline of new wars. Eisenhower, who was the outgoing president, gave what is probably the most important speech in American history, which was, where he warned against the military-industrial complex. I was at my uncle's inauguration. I was in Washington that day, as a 6-year-old boy. And 2 months later, the military and intelligence came to him and said, we got to invade Cuba. And he was like, I'm not going to Cuba, and I'm not going to let the military. And they said, well, we got all these Cubans trained, and they're going to go attack Castro. And he said, well, the U.S. government can't be doing that. I don't like what Castro's doing down there, but it's not the United States' job to dictate what kind of governments other countries have. And they said, well, as soon as they land, there's going to be a big revolution. Everybody's going to rise up and they're going to overthrow Castro. And he said, well, you can't use the U.S. military. And they ended up bringing those guys over. And in the middle of it, in the night, they came to him and said, they're getting wiped out on the beach and you need to send in the military and invade. And he said, we're not going to do it. He stepped out of that meeting and he realized they had been lying to him and trying to trick him. And he said, I want to take the CIA and shatter it into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. For the next 1,000 days of his presidency, he was at war with his military and intelligence apparatus. They tried to get him to go into Laos. He said no. They tried to get him to go into Vietnam. They said that we need 250,000 combat troops. He refused. Everybody around him wanted him to go into Vietnam. He sent 16,000 military advisors. They weren't allowed to fight. And many of them did. They violated the rules of engagement. In October of 1963, he heard some of his Green Berets had been killed over there. And he said, I want a total casualty list from Vietnam. And his aide came to him and said, 75 Americans have died. He said, that's too many. And he signed that day a national security order ordering all troops out of Vietnam, U.S. troops. And then a month later, he was killed. My uncle...
All right, so... All right, this goes into a lot of things, but as I read before about the emblem that they use, it has a sun for the god Apollos or Athena, right? And that goes into them being, again, a weapon, right? Like they have the business suits and the protocols and the emblem, and it looks all nice in the offices, but they're the killers, right? They're really the killers. They push the drugs, they do what needs to be done for the sake of America being the top imperial power. So this is Psalm 17 and 13. Arise, O Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Right? So it's interesting to note that Cain, the word Cain in the Hebrew, Kwayan, it means, now let's look it up for brothers, because I actually did this, and Blue Letter goes off. You have to take into account Blue Letter is not always 100% on point, so you got to do your own due diligence. The word Cain, they say it means possession, which it does not. Kwayan, now when you look it up here in the root, it's interesting to note, they tell you it means spear. Kwayan really means like a spear or a weapon. A weapon, maybe a dagger, a knife. A spear is an edged weapon, right? So this man is a weapon. So who's the sword talking about in the book of Psalms? Right? It's talking about the elite and the lesser luminaries of Esau, and really down to the average Edomite, down to the average Joe six-pack, right? Verse 14, from men which are thy hand. So they're controlled by who? The Most High, right? The Most High is using Satan, which is an evil angel, but he's still the son of the Most High. As you go, what? You Christians get messed up over that. Read the book of Job, right? He uses Satan to deal with Esau on the left hand side, to give him power, but it's all through Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. From men which are thy hand, O Yahweh, from men of the world. What does that mean? They're blessed in this life, right? When you read about the blessings of Esau that Jacob gave him, the fatness of the earth, you know, he's blessed. He has abundance in substance, right? Which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest. The Most High is dealing with them. Is the Most High wicked? A lot of people get bugged out over rulership, over what's going on in the planet, over why it's happening. Oh, Satan's on the loose. Satan's on the loose. But in a sense, it is Satan's world because the Most High gave it into his hand right now. He's dealing with it. You know, he's influencing the Most High's sword. But once the Most High gives the word, that's it. The tap runs out, man. The tap's dry. All right. The water's not gonna, you know, there's no more water in the well. It's all tapped out. You're finished, and that's the time we're approaching right now. Right, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasures, they are full of children. Right, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. Right, now let's go to 2nd Ezra 11 and 20 and 37, and I beheld, and lo, as it were, a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, and that the end of their times might come through them? Right? So the Most High is telling you, look, I made you rule, I made you reign, you're the last beast. Right? This is dealing with back then. You have 4 beasts, right? Which is the Babylonians, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greeks, and then the Romans. The Romans came back. There was a deadly wound, but it was healed during the time of the Renaissance. They came back. That's why, again, they have all these emblems, right? And I'm bringing out the one about why they picked that emblem of the sun. It's not just, oh, it's just a cool symbol. It looks cool. It's Esau. Remember, Esau. He makes a diligent search, man. Hold on, let me get that. Hold on. Right, Psalms 64 and 6. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Right. If you read from the first verse, this is dealing with the elites. Actually, you know what? This is this is dealing with the elites, man. Right. This is a psalm to the chief musician, a psalm of David. This is David speaking. Right. Hear my voice, O Most High, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. So hold on. You had these guys, IUIC. I remember like 2012, 2013 maybe. They would call us crazy conspiracy theorists because we would talk about, we would bring up this scripture, and then we would talk about the Illuminati, different groups, Skull and Bones, right? They would call us crazy. But yet all these things get brought up. When George Bush was running for office, right, they brought up on live news, him and that guy Kerry, forget his John Kerry or something like that, the guy he was running against. They were both bonesmen, and they asked him, they're like, look, can you talk about Skull and Bones? And George Bush flat out said, he's like, it's a secret, I can't, it's so secret I can't even talk about it, can't mention anything. Right? What's that all about? You know, you guys are bugged out, man. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword. Right? Because their law, you know, they have a saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Meaning what? When they establish law, when they write that, you know, they jot that law down, they sign it. Oh, here we go, we're gonna sign this, and here, this is a bill, this is a law. What's behind that? A sword. Everybody knows that. If there's unrest, what does Esau do? He'll bring the military, which he's getting ready to do, through things like King Albert's plan, Rex 84, right? The King's plan, right? He has things in motion already. But when he signs something, right? and you tear that piece of paper like it's nothing, he'll bring the sword. So people know what that means already. So his speech, that's why there's a scripture that says his tongue walketh throughout the earth. His policies. And doesn't the book of Daniel say through his policy he shall cause craft to prosper, and through peace he shall destroy many? His policies, man. Politicians, a bunch of damn ticks, gnats, blood-sucking beings, man. Right? They go throughout the earth and they establish their wickedness, their corporations. What does the word corporation mean? Oh, I want to start a corporation, the corporate world, right? It sounds so so successful and full of abundance. The word corporation, it means a collection of dead bodies, corpse. That's where the word corpse comes from, right? So this whole world is bugged out, man. It's on a low vibration and frequency. The corporate world, it's a dead world, man. Nothing but adultery, backdoor deals, fraud. Bunch of BS, man. Verse 3, who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil manner. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? Like the music industry. That's a snare set privily, right? When you go up in the music industry or the sports industry, all these different things, you start understand that these higher people in the industry, they're all initiated. They're all into a craft. They all have their lodges. They all have their different ceremonies and ways that you got to get down with, right? It's not just, oh, I got talent, I have skill, I have dedication, and I have a good work ethic, I have discipline. No, man, there's different things that happen, right? Verse 6, they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart, meaning the mind, is deep. So Esau, you're not going to play with Esau, man. You're not going to play with Esau when he deals with things like that, different emblems and symbols. So this is that beast, going back here, verse 39. Art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long, the Romans didn't have the whole compass of the earth. The Romans only had the whole known world. Okay, when you talk about the Romans conquered the world, they conquered the known world. And yes, they went very far. They went up to Britain, right, to the coast, to the Isles over there. They went to the Iberian Peninsula. They went throughout Central Europe, right, and conquered the predecessors of the Ptolemies in Egypt and different kingdoms. But they didn't have the whole compass of the earth. So this is referring to this new Rome, okay, known as America. Much wicked oppression, as we just saw that video. Isn't that oppression? Oh, we don't like what they're doing, let's go pull a coup d'etat. Alright, let's overthrow the government. It says, and so long dwelt he upon the earth with deceit, for the earth hast thou not judged with truth. Right? Even though you establish yourself as oh yes, we have a Department of Justice, right? We have laws, we have freedoms, right? Well, here in Canada, you have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Within that, I believe on the first page, it tells you that the Bible is the supremacy of the land. That's a straight hypocritical statement. And when we used to have that whole pamphlet, we used to have it printed, right? The Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because the police, years ago when we first came out on the highways, they used to come out every fucking week. So we would print that, and we would show them, look, this is what the Charter of Rights and Freedom says. And they couldn't say much, right? Because we used to tell them, look, why does we used to say, why did the court make you swear in the Bible, which is going off, right? And the officer, one time, the cop said, he said, oh, well, you don't have to swear in the Bible. You can just say, I affirm, or I deny, or whatever other word, but he said you can affirm. You can say I affirm, right, instead of I swear in the Bible. So then we brought it out. Look, your Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it tells you the Bible, the scriptures, the laws, statutes, and commandments in there is the supremacy, the supremacy law of the land, right? So that's a straight hypocritical oath, man. That's pretty much all the laws in the scriptures you're breaking in within this land, establishing your own laws. That's why it says, "For the earth has thou not judged with truth." You don't keep land Sabbath. You practice something called fracking, digging into the earth, messing it all up, right? For thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the wall of such as did thee no harm. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up and unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty, right? And that's why we keep saying, man, all this exercising of sin, you guys are pumping that sin like you're pumping iron, man. Oh, today's leg day, today's chest day, today's arm day, every fucking day, man, right? So the sins have reached unto heaven. The Most High has heard your pride. Verse 44, the highest also hath looked upon the proud times. We're in Pride Month right now, right? And behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. Right? That was pretty much the point, man. That's a beautiful scripture. But anyway, I hope you're edified with that. I want to say, Kal Halalim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS, who I learned this truth from, and salutations unto you elect out there.